Welcome to Grab Your Keys. I'm super excited today that we have a wonderful guest, but let's do some housekeeping before we jump right into it. So if you know anyone who might be interested in the expertise advice of Grab Your Keys, please share and like to all of your friends. I would super appreciate that. But today we have a peer CMB of mine, which I love that you have the CMB designation. Yvette Clermont, you are licensed, if I'm not mistaken, in Florida and in Wisconsin, correct?
That's correct.
Why Florida and Wisconsin?
Well, if you've been to Wisconsin, you know that we all of us Wisconsinites come to Florida to get out of the winter every once and again. So it all started with me helping snowbirds, and then over time I was like, I want to be one of those snowbirds. And then I actually now live full time in Florida, and but still I'm in Wisconsin. I still have my keys up there and family up there, so it's nice to be in both places.
So how does that work when you are handling business in both places in two different, completely different states? Hope everything was okay with you with the
Thank
hurricane.
you.
Totally different weather related items that you have to worry about. How does that work for you?
It is, yeah, that is very different. It's two very different markets. When Wisconsin is very busy, it tends to be that Florida is not. So it actually works out really, really well that we have the opportunity to be busy in Florida sometimes and then busy in Wisconsin. So it works out really well. But the being able to manage from back and forth, well, COVID really showed everyone how easy it was to do business from anywhere. And I have been doing business like that for 12 years. So when everyone's like, oh, you have to work virtually and you can't be with people, I'm like, I'm built for this. I've been doing it for 12 years. So it's worked out actually really, really well.
That's amazing. So besides being in two different states, you hold many hats at the company that you work for. So you're a branch manager, producing branch manager,
Yes.
non-producing, you're a producing branch manager. And how many people do you manage and what does that look like day to day?
Sure. So I have a team of, I have actually, we're a total of five of us. So it's really an amazing team. Most of my teammates have been with me for many years, and which is terrific. So it's been they support me and help me with all of my really crazy ideas sometimes and ways that I want to take the business, and they've been here along for the ride. So I feel very blessed that I have four amazing women that are by my side.
Oh, I love the women thing. I love that you have four women that have been working with you. I always feel it's so important to empower women and to help them through, raising children, having families, balancing, which is never really balancing anything great. And I learned long ago not to think that anything could be balanced perfectly. So,
Oh, absolutely,
well, we
absolutely.
all have seen crazy stuff in this marketplace as we're seeing right now. What's something crazy that what's something crazy that's happened to you while working in this mortgage industry?
This was kind of a fun question because, actually I had to choose from a few different stories, but the one I think that is that your listeners will enjoy. I walked into a closing room with a couple that was buying a home and the realtor, and I come in and their heads are down, looking a little distraught. And I'm like, what's going on? And the buyers are like, she sold us the wrong house. We wanted to make an offer on the house next door. It was a new construction neighborhood. So, it's kind of like cookie cutter homes all being built at once. And she's like, I did. I wrote the offer on the wrong house. And he's like, yep, we went there to go do the walkthrough. And it wasn't the house we thought we were buying.
Wow.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, do you like this house? So it ended up turning out fine. They're like, because it really was the same house. But I've never, in 25 years of my career, that only happened once, where actually the real estate agent wrote the offer. It was just one of those things, new neighborhood, new street, new house numbers. She wrote down, they were looking at both, and she wrote down the wrong one. And the buyers never noticed it, that they were signing an offer on the wrong house. So it was a pretty
Wow.
good story.
I have never had that happen. I'm actually glad I've never had that happen. I've had some other crazy things happen.
It was pretty good.
Again,
We all laughed about it pretty well.
why we have the question is because I think in this mortgage world that we live in, we see so many different things and we end up being a therapist so many different times.
Yes.
And it's just so great to hear other like-minded individuals dealing with the same trials and tribulations everywhere.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
and loving that. So what do you believe your 3 keys to success are in this mortgage world?
I've gotten this question a lot, over the years of, what's the secret sauce? What is it? And I would say number one, make the phone call you don't want to make. Make it now. If you have something stressful, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life, and you have to give some news that you know is not going to be taken well, and in our industry that happens, and it's heartbreaking because I think all of us feel like very emotionally attached to our buyers, and when something goes awry and you have to tell a family that they're not going to get into their home, it's absolutely just soul sinking. But if you have something really awful to tell someone, tell them now. Don't
Right.
wait, because it's going to flow into all of your calls that day. It's going to flow into your relationship with your family. It doesn't go away. So deal with it and make that call right away. It will. That is probably one of the most important things I can say to anyone getting in the industry is make that call first.
I agree. And I always tell my assistants who work on the files with me, like, run, don't walk.
Yes.
Tell me first, rip the Band-Aid off, and then we can figure it out.
Yep.
Or I'll make the call that we can't figure it out. But let's know sooner rather than later. So super important. That is key to your success for sure. Is the transparency.
Yeah. And the other keys, that I would say is really truly under promise and over deliver. I tell clients that when they are buying a home, that congratulations, they have just taken on a part-time job, and that they are going to be working alongside of us to make sure that we meet their, the dates that they need, and the time frame that they need. I tell them that we're going to ask for more, even if I don't think we will. I say it's very likely we're going to ask for additional documentation. Some type of clarification. We're going to need additional documentation along the way. So when we call you, we ask that you get it to us right away. And the faster you get it to us, the faster we can meet your time frame.
Yeah.
And then also I tell them that they're clear. Yes, absolutely. And I tell them that they're clear to close is going to come later than I intended for it to as well. Those are the things that people complain about the most in our industry is communication. They ask me for more documentation. Then I was constantly doing paperwork. Well, so just get that all of the way up front. And
so very intentional. Very intentional.
Yes, absolutely. And I would say the third piece is come from the place of the heart. If you lead with a giving hand, if you give information, if you give your time, if you give your advice, and then ask for a referral, it will come to you. But you have to start with giving hand.
So how do you ask for that referral?
Well, I think it's more about the timing of asking for a referral is really important. It's a great time to ask for a referral, especially if something was a bit of a challenge and you were able to get through that challenge. Even if it was something that you saved without them knowing. Sometimes there's all kinds of problems that come up during the transaction of buying a home or refinancing, any kind of financing. And there's always something that comes up. And many times we don't say anything about it. There are times when you just don't want to say anything about something that you saved. But choose that. If there's something that was a challenge that you got through because of your skill, then that is a great time to call the client and say, listen, I just want to let you know what happened. There was this challenge. Here's what happened. This is what I did to resolve it. And I want to share this with you because this is one of the reasons that you chose me as your lender. And the next time that someone mentions that they're looking at buying, I ask you to remember the story so you can mention that, hey, I know there's lots of great lenders out there, but here's what my lender did to save me from some stress. So I think this is a great person for me to introduce you to. And if you share that with a client, they're more likely, when you ask for a referral, I've always laughed about that. Well, what's a referral? Our clients don't know what a referral is. They don't know what that word means. But if you can paint a picture for them and say, this is what I'm looking for. When someone asks you how the process went, or when someone says, hey, I want to buy a home or I need to refinance as well, then you have that story. They've got that story in their head. It'll make it easier for them to say your name instead of just saying, "Oh, I want to refer you." They're not going to say that. That's not a conversation that our clients would ever have.
Yeah, I love that. I love that whole story part of it and everything. That is so important. I'm going to deviate a little bit and ask you a couple other questions. So why did you find it was important to get your CMB?
Oh,
And when did you get it?
I got it, and it was actually right after Irma, the last hurricane, in 2017. I actually had to reschedule my online exam because I had no power.
Oh my God.
But I did, and I did it because I've always been a student of our industry. I love this industry. I love what we do. I love the impact we make, not only on the clients that we serve, but on the communities that we help build. We get to fund people's pension plans. If you really think about it, you break it down to what we get to do, it's amazing. And I wouldn't know all of that, and I wouldn't take as seriously as I do each mortgage application that I write if I didn't understand the impact that it was making. So for me, I got highly involved with the Mortgage Bankers Association really at the onset of, when I started 25 years ago. And I always stayed involved and loved this idea of the CMB. And just, your busy life kind of goes on. But then I really made a focus that I wanted to go through all the classes. I'm also an AMP. I'm also an accredited mortgage professional. So I went through all of the School of Mortgage Banking classes. And honestly, I did that after I'd been in the industry for 15 years. But it was amazing. I think it made me better at my job. Not because I learned technical skills of what we do. We learn that on the job. And as soon as we learn a technical skill, we all know that technical skill changes because the program just changed or your system's changed or what have you. But really having a base core knowledge of what happens, why mortgage regulations are the way they are, and how they impact ourselves, our communities, and the borrowers we serve, and that we can then take that information and bring that to our representatives in DC. It's the best thing. I love it. Probably. I love it as much as I love writing a loan, honestly.
Yeah, that's great. I received my CMB in 2019, and it was something, and I started, I believe I started in 2016 initially, but with running Centennial Lending, I just couldn't devote the time that really was needed to devote. So as soon as I had joined with Success, I decided that was one of my non-negotiables with myself. I had to get it in 2019, that I had started it and I needed to finish it. And that's exactly what I did is in 2019.